I decided to quit being a full-time influencer.
I started resenting being at home because I wanted to be like out and about.
I've been really contemplating giving up being a full-time influencer.
So influencers are quitting and getting 9-to-5 jobs. Why is this when 86% of young Americans want to be influencers as their dream job? Are people quitting and getting 9-to-5s? That's what we're going to talk about today. I have been a full-time content creator for, over 10 years now, so I think I can speak on the realities of it. And one thing I'm not going to do is complain about it. I think it's such a privilege to be able to make money from YouTube or Instagram or TikTok is truly crazy, especially when people are making good money. It's kind of mind-blowing. Let's not forget it's a huge privilege, but for some people, it's not really the dream job. And while many people view it as a failure to go back to having a 9-to-5, I don't think it should be viewed that way. And I'm gonna just kind of show some examples and talk about why people are doing this. By the way, this is Step by Step, the podcast where we talk about living a better life holistically, whether that's making more money, just kind of structuring your life how you want, new friends, whatever. But I have noticed that you guys really like the commentary style videos. They're the ones that actually do the best. So I'm thinking I'm going to roll with that for a while. Although I like having guests on, I feel like those episodes don't get a lot of views, so I'm like, should I not have guests? I don't know. You guys let me know. Comment down below your thoughts on that. I love to yap on my own about a topic too, but I'll probably still have guests on from time to time. Yes, let's get into this topic. So since the dawn of influencing, since the dawn of that being a thing, quitting your job to do it full time has been kind of the dream. The freedom that comes with that, just to be able to spend all your time doing your hobby, that's the dream, right? There's no way it would ruin it for you, right? Monetizing your hobby, ruining it? No, I'm kind of kidding. But it's true, that's kind of the goal for most people, is to be able to do this full time. A lot of people do it full time now. More people than ever. Thousands of people all over the world. Kind of doesn't matter where you live. It's truly amazing. There's a niche for anything. It's actually crazy when you think about it. But when we see people quitting, it's like, is it not all it's cracked up to be? Why would you choose to do a 9-to-5 instead of having that freedom to basically pursue your passion full time? The first thing I notice and can speak with some experience of is a lack of stability. When you're an influencer, you don't really know how much you are going to make each month. The way that it works is you can have multiple streams of income, right? There's things like Google AdSense where you monetize just based on the ads on the videos, the TikTok creator program, but these don't really make you that much money. And most creators couldn't live off of it completely. You're at the whims of the algorithm, and not every video is gonna hit. I had a year where I was making like $20,000 a month from Google AdSense. Insane. Now I probably make $3,000 to $5,000 a month from it. So living in LA, you can't really live off of that. And when you consider the amount of time that goes into each video, it would be like less than minimum wage if you're not working with brands.
And my RPM was 56 cents. And I get paid every 1,000 views. So every qualified 1,000 views that I had, I got paid 56 cents. So the total I got paid from that video was $3,917.31.
Let's be real, that's an amazing amount to get from one TikTok, but 12 million views, that's hard to sustain every month. I'm sure she doesn't get that on every single video. That's like a once every blue moon type of thing. So enter brand deals, which are great. Brand deals pay a lot better than AdSense pretty much across the board. Doesn't matter if it's short form videos, they can pay even better than a YouTube video sometimes.
The biggest brand deal I've had, $16,000 for like a multi-video deal. So it wasn't just like one video, but $16,000.
I think it was around $20,000 for some UGC videos with paid usage.
For one reel, maybe around 30,000.
So yes, I made $768,000 gross salary.
So obviously the majority of this money comes from brand deals. But the thing is, you don't really know when you're going to get a brand deal. There's a lack of control there, and this is where the stability part comes into play. As much as you might pitch yourself to brands, you're still just at the whim of, what they're looking for their marketing campaign. It's getting more and more niche. Like people that own a cat and have a hobby of sewing. I'm not kidding. Like, things are getting like so niche like that. And so while you might love a brand and organically think that you could make great content for them, you might not fit into the campaign that they're looking for. So I think there isn't a lot of stability with brand deals. You just, you have no idea really when you're going to get them, because it's not really a matter of like pitching and selling yourself, but being the right fit for a brand. Not saying you can't try and pitch yourself, just saying that most of the time that's not really how it works, and you don't have as much leverage either when you do that. And so this kind of structure, I think, understandably can make people kind of uneasy, because it can be difficult to budget if you don't know how much you're going to make in the next year. You can kind of base it off of the previous year, but you don't really know. I think it's because creators are reliant on brand deals usually to kind of make a good living, that there's less stability. I think if AdSense paid really well and people were uploading and it was more consistent and you always kind of knew that you would get a certain amount, there wouldn't be as much lack of stability, but it's not really set up that way unless you're someone who's getting like millions of views every month, but that's kind of rare and it's difficult to sustain. Where this affects creators the most is if you're just barely able to quit your 9-to-5 and replace the income with being a full-time creator. And I think this is a good example from this creator, how it actually became more stressful to be a full-time creator.
Your income will ebb and flow so much. I had months where I made more than I ever thought was even imaginable from sponsorships, and then I would have months at like the start of the year or just, like during those dead times where I would honestly have like maybe one sponsorship, and I had to bust my ass to honestly make as much money as I wanted to every month. I was taking on, I'm not even joking, like 12 sponsorships a month just to make ends meet. I was doing Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I had Google AdSense from YouTube. I had my Like to Know It, and my affiliate links were starting to do really well. So even though I had multiple streams of income, sponsorships were without a doubt like 80% of my income. So if I wasn't getting brand sponsorships, they were rough.
Taking on 12 sponsorships, it doesn't really matter the platform. That is a lot. Like, you may have to get on a call, do edits for the brands, posting. It's a lot to track. It's definitely more than what most creators would do. I think a lot more. Not only would it kind of suck the joy out of it, because you would feel like a billboard for brands and not maybe, I don't know, it kind of would take over the content at that point. But it's probably more time consuming and stressful as well, to the point where that might be more stressful than just whatever the 9-to-5 job was.
But the unknown of, am I going to make money this month, is just getting to be way too much for me.
I think that lack of stability, especially if you're just barely able to cover your income by being a creator, it sometimes isn't worth it, especially when there are other things that come into play, like benefits. You don't get 401k matching if you are a content creator. You don't get health insurance. You have to pay for that yourself. That's something to think about, is you do have to pay for those things. And even like tax preparation is more confusing and expensive. I'm not trying to complain. I'm just kind of showing why I think people at a certain point, it might be more stressful. If you are just able to make the same amount from being an influencer and having a 9-to-5, being an influencer might stress you out more, because you might be like, am I going to make that money? And is it going to take longer? It's just maybe more hustling than in the 9-to-5. The stability, that's a real thing. And that's like kind of better for you mentally in a lot of ways. If you're super stressed out now by the content you're making and feeling this pressure that it has to perform because now you're doing it full time, is it even fun anymore? I mean, having that pressure and taking it so seriously, that kind of can take the joy out of it. And that's why I think a lot of times people have more fun with it when it's a hobby. And the funny thing is, the content ends up doing better that way when you're taking it less seriously sometimes, because you're more open to experimenting. It doesn't matter as much if something flops. When it's so serious and there's all this pressure, it's, you might not take as many risks or have as much fun with it. Another thing in terms of stability is, with a 9-to-5, you may have a more clear path to career progression. If you're an influencer, you might not. It's the kind of thing almost like an athlete, where you might get 10 good years and then nothing. You know, like you might hit a point where you can't do it anymore. Although I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like there are people now in their 40s and 50s that create content, but you might not want to do it anymore. Like there's a number of reasons. Privacy, maybe. Like you might just decide not to, or you might not be able to anymore. Like the views might not be there, whatever. So it's sort of similar to an athlete in that way, where you feel like you're working towards something that might just be taken away at some point. That's not stability, you know? And with a 9 to 5, there's more of a clear career progression. If you are doing well in it and you are like a lot of people job hop and they make more money each time, it's nice to know that you can build a career that will continue to grow or might have a compounding effect. By the time you're 40 or 50, you'll be in a more senior position. But if you're an influencer, you might have more followers, but you might be totally burned out and over it and starting over. Like it kind of feels like, what are you building? And I really noticed this with one creator. I saw a video about why she, when researching this, why she decided to go back to school, even though she's a successful creator now. And it kind of was this point of wanting to build something that's gonna last.
It's a bit of a tough pill to swallow to realize that while I love doing YouTube, I only like doing it at the capacity that I'm doing it now. I wanted to feel like I'm building something, building stability for myself, building security, and not just getting a job just to say I got a job. You know, I want to be happy with it. I want to feel fulfilled and challenged.
She knows she doesn't want to build a business within YouTube. She doesn't want to do it outside of what feels authentic to her. To have maybe more stability long term, it's smarter for her to prioritize going back to school, to have maybe like a better 9 to 5, like a more senior position. I don't know. But that makes sense to me. I don't think that that's like a failure or a bad idea. It's just, you know, priorities. I think one way influencers can combat this is just by saving and investing as much as possible. That's basically what I do. Like as much as I can, try and reinvest my money so that I feel like I am building towards something, a nest egg, I guess. And so if I did have to start over, I would have that like flexibility too. That's not always the case for everyone though, especially if you're just becoming a creator or just able to replace your income and like you never really know how much you're making. The stability thing can be mentally taxing. Another part of stability is not having to adhere to an algorithm. So with a 9 to 5 job, you have more clear goals that you can accomplish. And if you are an influencer, you're kind of just at the whim of the algorithms, and you can put a lot of time and effort in and be very creative, but it might not get picked up. Like there's no guarantee. And so there's not that stability there the way that honestly YouTube used to have before the algorithms were so much focused on a For You page. Videos did actually go out to your subscribers, and there was stability. Like every video kind of got the same amount of views. Mentally, that was a lot better. Like it was just nice. You felt like you could make videos about whatever you were passionate about. I think typically in a 9 to 5 job, it seems like there's more of like a linear growth where you're moving up. Like rarely would you get a pay decrease. Like the economy would have to be so bad for that to happen. Like that's pretty rare. Pretty much everyone over time is making more money. But when you're an influencer, there's more of an ebb and flow. Like there may not be brand deals for a while. Your content might not do very well for a year. Like I have had times where I've just lost subscribers for a while and then gained them. There's more of an ebb and flow, which is kind of what happens to really any like freelancer or business owner. But of course, that's a lack of stability. And that's something that I think, again, can be like mentally draining or just not worth it for people unless you were making like significantly more. But if you're making just the same amount as you did in a 9 to 5, that lack of stability just can be very stressful. There's also the fact that like advertising trends change. Quick break to thank the sponsor of this episode, Cure Hydration. I decided to make a new ad read because I've just been obsessed with Cure. I think it is the best tasting of the electrolyte drink mixes. It's my favorite. It doesn't taste like super salty. It doesn't have any artificial sweeteners or added sugar, so it doesn't have the artificial sweetener taste. They only have 25 calories per serving. I love using this, especially if I'm in Palm Springs or going to play tennis, but honestly, I'll just use them any day that I know I should hydrate because I just have plain water. It's too boring and I don't end up drinking very much of it. So love these when it's hot out. These are doctor approved and safe for the whole family for kids ages 1 and up. They have a bunch of different flavors. This one's strawberry kiwi. My favorite one is grapefruit, but I also like the blood orange a lot. Honestly, they're all good, but the citrus ones are my favorite. Formula actually has 4 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, so it's doing a better job hydrating you, and in my opinion it tastes way better too. So this formula actually follows a formula that the World Health Organization uses that is proven to hydrate as effectively as an IV drip, and I like that they use high quality ingredients. They use stuff like pink Himalayan salt, coconut water powder, and they rigorously test these ingredients to make sure they meet quality standards. So I love Cure. If you guys want to try it, you can get 20% off your first order. I'll link it down below. You just go to curehydration.com/Shelby and use the promo code Shelby. I believe if you go just to the link, it should already have it applied. But if it prompts you to put a promo code at checkout, then you put Shelby. That's curehydration.com/Shelby, promo code Shelby. If you guys want to try it, it is my favorite. I just love it. I want to thank Copilot Money for sponsoring this episode. Copilot Money is an app that helps you track your everyday spending, your investments, set budgets for things that matter to you, and help you meet your savings goals. They give you a really clear overview of every transaction across all your accounts that you connect to it, all in one dashboard, so it's easy to see where you're at financially. They also have customizable categories, so you can have a more personalized approach to your finances. I think an important feature is the budgeting and real-time spending alerts. These are great to keep you on track without scolding you or making you feel guilty. They also have a new savings goal feature, so you can set any goal like a vacation, a wedding, a house down payment, and watch your progress grow. Copilot is available on your computer or your phone, so they have an iOS app, but you can also log in on your computer, because I know, like me, I kind of like managing my finances on my computer. It's just a little bit easier, but I like seeing them and tracking them on an app too. Copilot is privacy first and ad free. They don't sell your data. With other apps, sometimes that's how they make their money, but if you want to keep your data private, Copilot is a good option. Instead, they charge a $95 annual fee, so that's $13 a month. You can get started today with it by going to copilot.money, and you can get a 2-month free trial with the code Shelby2. Again, that's a 2-month free trial. The code is Shelby2, and you can go to copilot.money. All right, back into the episode. Yes, social media marketing is huge right now. Influencer marketing is where all these companies are spending their money. 10 years ago, it was barely becoming a thing, and who knows if one day it'll be the way of TV ads where it's just not really that common anymore. With AI, there could be some other way of marketing. I mean, a chip straight to the brain. I don't know. I know that's very Black Mirror, but who knows what marketing will be like in 10 years from now. So that's another part of the stability is like, will it be something that brands are spending so much money on in 10 years? I don't know. I feel like probably, but we don't really know that. So the second big reason I think a lot of people I see go back to having a real job is a lack of fulfillment from being an influencer. And I think the dream is that, and the idea really is you'd get more time to do what you love. And when you're starting out too, especially, you're not burned out at all yet, probably. And so it's like really fun to make content. Spending all day doing that sounds like the dream, especially content that you're passionate about. Like, what could be bad about that? Seriously, like, it sounds great. But I've seen a lot of influencers cite that they felt like they were losing brain cells being an influencer full time. They weren't using their brain as much. Just in general, it was a bit hollow.
And I'm tired of making everything about myself. I know that I'm capable of learning and growing, and I feel like since I graduated and I've done this full time, I haven't done anything with my brain. The most brain exercise that I've gotten since May is reading. And
I can't talk about this forever. I was starting to feel a bit bored and burnt out from sharing my day-to-day life because not every day was super interesting, and I started to feel like I was living to make content.
Like, she kind of felt like she was not challenged enough, which I think can make sense, especially if you're mostly posting on TikTok. Like, no shade to TikTok, but I also feel when I'm making a short form video, I just don't feel that challenged. Like, I feel like I just have to like cut something together really quick and post it. Whereas with YouTube, I'm more stretched creatively and it's more fulfilling, I think. The type of content that is doing really well on something like Instagram or TikTok can feel repetitive to make. Take these aesthetic videos, for example. They're really beautiful. They're fun to look at. But if you were making those all day, every day, it would start to feel kind of hollow and not that fulfilling because it's not that deep. It's just like a cool aesthetic. It's not really like towards a deeper mission or anything. And they're so quick, you don't have time to like really go deep into anything that meaningful also. So it's no wonder that making, I think, short form content especially isn't that fulfilling, especially lifestyle content like outfit of the day videos, getting ready with me. You can like, it's fun to make that, but I think if that's all you're doing, it does kind of start to feel like, what is the point of this? Especially like the aspirational content, because creating that kind of content, like showing a lifestyle that's beautiful, it's kind of fake. And I think you would just start to be like, what am I doing? Like, I'm spending all this time making my life look better than it is. That's not fulfilling. It's much more fulfilling to make content that feels real and people learn something from, or you learn something from, or you're just able to like connect on something deep, you know? And so part of it, I think, is what influencers choose to make content about. I think another part of it too is that you work alone a lot if you are an influencer. Like, you might have a manager or something, but you're mostly like emailing with them, maybe a phone call once in a while. Some people have an assistant. I mostly just work solo because financially it makes the most sense. I mean, to hire someone, like, most people can't. Maybe like the top influencers have like an assistant or something like that all the time, but it's not typical. And when you're working on something by yourself, it's just not as fulfilling. Take it from this creator.
I have over 1 million followers and I quit being a full-time influencer. I got a 9-to-5 and I'm significantly happier now. And here's all the reasons why. There's this perception online that full freedom and flexibility equates to happiness, but I don't think that's true. I think that happiness actually comes from overcoming challenges that you feel passionate about. But not just that, actually overcoming things as a team. Humans are social creatures and we need community and partnership that's not just online. While some people may like the flexibility and schedule, feeling like my days are structured actually makes them feel more gratifying.
And I would have to agree. A long time ago, I was a part of this collab channel, and you know, it was like 5 of us working on a video together. It was more fulfilling just being a part of a group doing something. And that's something that is lacking if you are a full-time creator or influencer. Even if you have a 9-to-5 job where you don't feel like that deeply about whatever the mission is, like maybe you're selling something you don't care that much about, it can feel fulfilling to just do something with other people, completing these tasks with other people that you see regularly. You know, it might not have to be like your passion project of life, but there is something fulfilling about working towards a goal with other people. And that is something that you don't really get as much if you're an influencer. But just in general, that is a piece that's missing. Like, you don't have coworkers. There's like a mental side of that where if a video flops, there's no one to kind of be like, yeah, but it's still okay. Like, it's just kind of like, dang, what am I doing? Versus if you're at a company and maybe a product launch doesn't go as well, it's like not totally your fault anyway, because it's like you can kind of share the burden of things a little more. And on the flip side, when things do go well, you celebrate with other people, versus if a video does well, I'm like, oh cool, it did well, but you know, no one cares as much as I do that it does well usually. Especially if you're going through a period of time where you're not feeling that inspired, it'll feel especially lackluster and like, what am I doing? You know? Whereas if you're at a 9-to-5 job, you're not feeling that inspired, it's okay, because there's that structure there to just keep things going. You just get your job done, do what you need to do. Whereas, you know, if you are an influencer, content creator, or really any kind of business owner, it's all on you to kind of find that purpose and fulfillment all the time. On the working alone topic, I mean, take what this commenter said. Yes, this is my exact feeling. Being an influencer is like a never-ending one-man act, and that's not my vibe at all. I love group projects and collaborating. And the creator said, yes, going back to work, I love my team and feel so fulfilled working with others. I mean, don't most people? I feel like working with other people is quite fulfilling. It's like, unless you're making significantly more than what you did at a 9-to-5 job, that it would be dumb to go back to it. Why would you do something less fulfilling for the same amount of money? Like, of course you're gonna do the job you enjoy more or find more fulfilling. Yeah, even if it means a little bit of a lack of freedom. Maybe freedom isn't the ultimate happiness. Maybe it's more of the fulfillment. It's like we think having freedom to do whatever we want will make us happy, but really it's the overcoming challenges, sometimes overcoming challenges with other people, just being challenged in general, because you might not be if you are like a full-time creator and your content is just doing well. You could kind of just coast. We're kind of bad at knowing what's going to make us feel fulfilled. Maybe it's not the freedom. For some people it might be. It kind of depends on your need for freedom, I think. But for other people, the freedom might be too much and like overwhelming, like you don't know what to work on. And it can be easy if you're working solo to just not ever challenge yourself, especially if the content is just doing well. It's not unless it's kind of starting to take a dip that you might be like, shoot, I should experiment. I should try some other things. I should try harder, that you end up challenging yourself. Back in the day, I made this lifestyle content over and over for so long where it wasn't really that challenging to myself. It wasn't until I like tried harder and like actually challenged myself to make different, better, more interesting videos that I felt way more fulfilled from them. But no one is forcing those challenges when you work for yourself and are an influencer. So I think that's why some people find a 9-to-5 in some ways to be more fulfilling. That, I see just as many people saying a 9-to-5 is soul sucking, it's not fulfilling. I don't know. It really just depends on every situation. For some people, especially if it's like you're making the same amount at both, and at one you feel like you're maybe like a billboard for brands and really having to hustle and stress to do it, and at the other you're working on a team and you like the team and you're challenged and you're learning, and that might be more fulfilling. The third big thing is to fill the time, okay? Because if you are an influencer, specifically short form like TikTok or Instagram, that doesn't actually really take 40 hours a week to do. I mean, you could find a way to make it. I think YouTube absolutely does and would be really hard to do with another job. It's just longer content, more editing, that kind of thing. But with TikTok and Instagram, it's kind of just about your life and what you're doing already. And so a lot of people are able to do it at the same time as another job. And then if you're doing it full time, it's like, what do you do with the rest of your time? If you don't have an idea for a way to expand your business, like a course or a product or whatever, you might feel like you're starting to spiral with too much free time. A lot of the creators I see go back to having a 9-to-5. It's not even that they actually quit being an influencer. They just do it at the same time as having a 9-to-5, because you can do that with TikTok and Instagram. Though I will say, there are times where one TikTok has taken me like 2 hours to make. Still kind of nothing compared to a YouTube video, but it's not nothing. I will say that. I'm not saying it's like truly like, oh, just say whatever I'm thinking. It takes some time. It's just not 40 hours a week. And so that's why I think some people go back to having a 9-to-5 as well, is they realize they could kind of do both. I know 2 influencers that make more money as influencers than they do at their 9-to-5 jobs, but they still do their 9-to-5 jobs. Angelica Song is one. She works for YouTube, which is a really cool job and it seems demanding. And then Jenny Park, I've had her on the podcast. She works for Netflix. Both of them have said that they make more even from TikTok, but it's not like a full-time thing, and they see benefits to keeping the 9-to-5, to make connections, to learn. And like, hey, some people actually do enjoy their 9-to-5 job too, especially if you're working at a cool company like YouTube and Netflix. I'm sure there are times that are stressful, but those are also really cool jobs too. So it's not like a failure to keep that. But this is something I've noticed of other people who have made videos saying that they were gonna quit too, is they didn't actually end up quitting. They still kept doing it. Some of them I feel like didn't even end up getting a 9-to-5. They just had a moment where they were like probably unfulfilled with it and were like, maybe I'll go back to having a 9-to-5, and then they don't. I've noticed that because I've watched these videos and then I'll see months later it looks like they didn't really get a 9-to-5. I don't know. So many people, I think, because it's trendy to be an entrepreneur or an influencer, or it's aspirational now when it kind of didn't used to be. But because it's trendy, people kind of look down on 9-to-5s when like there's a lot of benefits to having one, and there's a lot of good ones out there. Like ones where people have a good manager, they learn, they actually like their job. Maybe not all the time, but for the most part, they like it. It's not something to always be looking at like it's a bad thing, I think. Sometimes people comment on these videos where people quit and go back to a 9-to-5 being like, oh, you didn't make it. And it's like, well, maybe they just didn't want to do it. That's fine too. The fourth reason I see people quitting is privacy. it's kind of becoming more valued to have a private life. And I see people saying this, maybe because it's so common now for people to really overshare on the internet, that we're seeing a swinging of the pendulum to it being a flex to not share anything. And you'll see TikToks like this where people are like, I don't share anything, and that's sort of like the ultimate goal now. I think about it sometimes, the fact that people that maybe like someone I went on a date with like 5 years ago can watch my videos, or like a random TikTok where I have no makeup on, like that's a weird thought. I kind of don't love that. Or people that like you knew in high school or whatever, like following you on Instagram, and it's like sort of embarrassing to post as an influencer sometimes. Like that's a real thing. It's a privilege to do it as a living, but I'm sure people sometimes think it's cringe. Not having to do that is also a flex. Like, I feel like most people are like, whatever, it's worth the money. But other people are like, no, having a private life is very valuable. And some people think being an influencer is like kind of embarrassing. I almost see a shift to people thinking it's maybe desperate or like lower class than having a private life. I mean, again, I don't really think that, but it almost feels like that's kind of a narrative that's starting to happen. Especially too, just seeing like people make content like this TikTok.
To live in.
I mean, when you look at this, you're like, oh, like people are performing, you know, like influencers are performing. Anytime someone has that cool B-roll shot, they had to set up the camera and go do it. And it's like, that's so awkward that you had to do that in public. And I've done it so many times, like I know. And I think people value just living their life, not having to perform it and share it for people. It's kind of dystopian. Like it reminds me of the Nosedive episode of Black Mirror, if you've seen that. I think people value not just the privacy, but just feeling like they don't have to monetize every hobby or every thought or every vacation outfit photo. Because I think if you are a creator, you do kind of feel that pressure to create content all the time and monetize everything. You don't have to. You don't have to. But a lot of people do feel that pressure. Not everyone wants to do that, and that's fine. That's fine to do it for a bit and then decide that you don't want to. I have a friend who, she was a successful blogger, and she decided to quit it all and basically be like, yeah, I just don't want to be that public anymore. And this guy, you know, once he realized people he knows could see his content, he also was like, I'm out.
I used to have 500,000 followers, and I deleted it on a random Wednesday afternoon when I was walking to physics class. I was working as an RA in a dorm building, and somebody shared with me that all of the faculty and staff that like ran the housing departments and stuff across UT knew who I was and talked about me as I was like posting videos that were on campus, and that kind of damaged my ability to interface with strangers. I had these like weird, super egotistical thoughts that like strangers who were probably just minding their business, like they were like talking about me. Or,
you know, there's even like safety and security concerns. This isn't even like a privacy thing, but it is nice to just live your life and like view life through your own eyes versus through like your phone screen. Because, I mean, I was on a trip recently, and the reality was I was constantly getting content. Vertical, horizontal. Sometimes I was, like, looking through my phone, and then I had to put my phone down and be like, oh, wow, this is really cool, because you don't, like, take it in the same through a phone versus your own eyes. At one point on this trip, when I was in Europe, my phone died, and I was with my friend, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of nice, actually, like, just taking everything in and not feeling like I need to document it. I mean, I'm still very thankful that you can make money documenting it. Like, that is the thing that I'm like, don't want to complain about it. But I get why some people don't want to do that, because it can just take you out of the moment. It can take you out of the moment when you're by yourself experiencing something and with other people. And, you know, some people have just decided they don't want to be taken out of the moment of their life that they're living. That's fine. And then obviously burnout is a big thing too. I mean, if you're doing anything full time, no matter how much you love it, you guys know I love tennis, but if I was doing that all day, every day, for sure, I would get burned out and not like it. And I think this is the thing, is like people just get burned out of whatever they're doing full time. They get burned out of a 9-to-5, and then they think that doing content full time is going to be a lot better. And then it's like, but you overdo it and you monetize your passion too much and you get burned out on it. And that's just everything. And then actually treating it as a hobby again is kind of the cure to the burnout. It takes the pressure off. It makes it more fun again. And so sometimes it is, you know, better to just have a hobby as a hobby and not a thing that you put a lot of pressure on monetizing. Like maybe a little bit, maybe you do it on the side and make some money from it, but doing it full time, even like the professional tennis players, they say they hate it. Like Andre Agassi, I read his book, he said he hated it. And I'm like, what? How could you hate it? It's because, you know, you're taking it so seriously and you're living and breathing it. Of course, anything ends up being kind of not fun anymore when that's the case. And so I think it's just natural for people to maybe, again, swing the pendulum and just do something totally different.
Trick yourself into thinking that you're taking time off, but all the while, you kept checking your emails and you kept on creating content. To you, making content is fun. They say do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. No, boo-boo. Do what you love, you end up doing work every single day of your life and you can't turn it off. What happens? You burn the fuck out. You are burnt out. You don't even realize you're working when your wheels are still turning. You need to take time off.
Okay, so that is basically it. That is why I think we see creators that end up quitting and going back to having a 9-to-5 job or a totally different job, quitting and doing something else. Basically, you know, burnout, maybe working alone isn't really their vibe. Maybe there's just a lack of fulfillment from focusing on yourself too much. And some people just prefer to maybe not be constantly having to create their own schedule and have a 9-to-5 where it's more structured. I don't really view either of it as a failure. I don't really judge anyone for doing whatever they want to do. Maybe the lack of stability, especially if you're just making the same amount, isn't worth it. But if you are making significantly more, I mean, when I see a video of a TikToker who makes like 100,000 a TikTok, like sometimes I'll see these videos where people who work on the brand side share what certain TikTokers make, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would care about a lack of stability if I was getting like $30,000 for a TikTok. That is not what I get, to be clear. I think that is why we see people sometimes go back to having a 9-to-5, and it's not a bad thing, and having a 9-to-5 is not a bad thing. Doing content full-time is not a bad thing. Like, both can be fulfilling, both can make you burn out. Pretty much everything is true. That's like what I always say. It just sort of depends on the situation. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you guys think. Do you enjoy your 9-to-5? Comment down below. Or do you find it draining and wish you were an influencer? Or do you not like making content? I know some people just have no interest in making content at all, and that's fine. But yeah, what do you think of it? Do you think that some influencers like complain too much about it? 'Cause sometimes I think people do. I'm like, I'm very grateful that I can do this. Like, I still think it's the dream. So yeah, even if there are times where I'm a little burned out, I just recognize that like that's normal of any job. So yeah, that's it for this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, or if you like listening, this is uploaded on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you prefer to listen, you can go subscribe on there as well. Leave a rating, 5 stars if you enjoyed. But yeah, I'll be reading the comments and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.